Sure shot, baby!
So, good day, everyone. We're here for another episode of the DVD show. So, for today, we have one of the best karate players here in the country, and she's also a gold medalist in the 2019 SEA Games. I'll now welcome here to the DVD show, Jamie Lim. Thank you for joining me here on my podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me as well.
Yeah. To start things off, I just want to ask, how have you been doing so far now? Like I heard that you went on a vacation recently and the Olympics has been going on. So how have you been doing naman?
I've been doing well. So for the whole of the first half of 2021, I've been training in the Bubble Inspire, and then we went to Turkey for training for 2.5 months, and then we went to Paris to compete sa Olympic qualifiers. And unfortunately, yung karate team fell short of claiming a spot sa Olympics. And then after that, so umuwi na kami and then set our sights on the future like SEA Games, pero that got postponed too. So for now, wala masyadong tournaments in store. So we're just taking a break from that hard 6 months of training na tuloy-tuloy. And so yun, like vacation ako with my family in El Nido. And that was really fun for me kasi finally I had the break. Kasi it's really tough yung training for tuloy-tuloy. And then since pandemic, naka-bubble pa. So being away from family was also another challenge apart from the just physical training. So yeah, I've been good naman and I've been watching the Olympics and supporting all the Filipinos and they're doing so well and I'm so proud of them and tuloy-tuloy pa yan.
Yeah. Before we talk about the sports that the sport like karate and like the Olympics topic. I wanted to ask lang like yung sa quarantine kasi like in the start and I also had Agatha Wong like earlier in my podcast like a few episodes back and you guys did a lot of things for the frontliners like you guys donated I think 350,000 based on your Instagram live series yata yon last year. So saan naman ang start yung initiative na yun and yeah how happy were you with the success that it achieved?
Yeah, so I'm really grateful na Agatha and I pulled it off. So I just met Agatha nung closing ceremony ng SEA Games. So that was pretty recent, just December. And then nag-pandemic bigla nung March and then lockdown started happening. And then it's been going on for a month now. It was April, mid-April when we thought about doing something for the nation kasi it wasn't doing well. And us being both Quezon City girls, we wanted to help because at that time Quezon City wasn't doing really well as in kami ata yung most cases at that time. And so we wanted to make it simple. So we thought we could help the frontliners and the people by also sharing what we think about being an athlete, sharing our ideas, sharing our stories, baka maka-inspire din. So it's a win-win for both. And we just did some IG lives, like 5 episodes of IG lives of question and answer and exchanging sports, sharing what we think about stuff. And naka-raise kami ng 350,000, almost 350,000. And marami kaming na-reach na hospital. So if you guys can check it out, just go to our Instagrams, Jamie
Yeah.
Christine Lim and Agatha Womi. So nandun sa highlights yung all about what we did, the puso, the fundraiser, and kung sino yung mga beneficiaries namin. So we're really, really happy about that. Super overwhelming now. We got to raise that much. We didn't expect it, but we're so happy with the support.
Yeah, that was a great initiative. Like yung athletes din kasi syempre like madami nga ngayon following and people look up to you like as their idols and as people they plan to emulate in their respective fields. So it's great that you guys had the initiative to also help people that are where that needed the help that you gave them, especially in the earlier part of the pandemic where everyone was still at shock and didn't know how to adjust. But then with the whole 2020, yeah, it was tough before you guys trained, but then was there any like lessons that you learned from the pandemic, like major like takeaways from the whole pandemic? I mean, it's not done yet, but then at least for the
Mm-hmm.
start or yeah, from last year to this year.
Yeah, I just realized that it's really difficult. I mean, for everyone and more for some people. So ako, I'm just blessed na I have a home and I'm with my family and it's still tough na nag-pandemic and for me. Pero I can just imagine yung ibang tao na nahihirapan sa trabaho, like work was suspended so they couldn't have any income and namumroblema sila like how to feed their children and stuff. Kaya yun din yung one of the inspirations that led me to want to start this fundraiser no matter how simple. I just wanted to do something because parang there are so many Filipinos that are in need and I just wanted to do something to help kahit maliit lang. And ayun yung mga learnings na parang, and it's been going on for so long and these people are still having a hard time and struggling. So just being aware na it's not equal to everyone. It's just medyo eye-opening. And well, for me, I'm grateful na I'm safe here and stuff, but it still hurts to see like a lot of people like this.
Yeah, it's really tough because especially here in the Philippines, we've been slower in terms of the pace, in terms of like vaccines
Mm-hmm.
or being able to recuperate from the devastation of the pandemic compared to like other countries na parang first world or other continents. But then I guess it's like at least may progress rin naman like kahit papaano, and hopefully we get there soon na bumalik na rin sa normal.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and you also you mentioned that you and Agatha had the initiative to help the frontliners and the people that were in need for this whole pandemic. But then I also observed like in the SEA Games and here in the Olympics that a lot of the athletes that have been successful are also the women, because yeah, most of the time, or like before, people just with sports, it's mostly like men lang that are like being talked about. But then now it's also the women, like yeah, Nesty, and as of this recording, see Nesty has a guaranteed bronze and Hidilyn won the gold. But then for you, paano naman yung parang yeah, yung pagiging equal na rin ngayon ng women and men sa sports? Like to start things off, maybe here in the Philippines and then also internationally.
Actually, malaking bagay yung these women are representing our country so well. And it's so symbolic na she's a Filipina and the sport is weightlifting. So you wouldn't really associate it with females and nesty and boxing. So parang Filipinos, I guess, nasanay sila na male-centric and like men are stronger than women and basketball is the best sport ever. Pero at least dito na-highlight yung different sports, na-highlight yung females na we're just as strong and we can actually win. So this is such a great month for us. It's a great Olympics, very symbolic. And I'm just having hope. So also yung karate, like for me, ng SEA Games, and for Agatha and Wushu and other females, nakikita mo na martial arts, it's not always related to men. So kitang-kita na men and women can do whatever they want. And I hope na like for the little girls watching, they can do whatever they dream to be. And so yun, I hope that this highlights other sports as well and both men and women, not just the men.
Yeah, that's been great. Like some of the other athletes also, like I'm not as familiar with them nga before because maybe like the exposure wasn't as broad or like as wide compared to like yeah, you said basketball and the other popular sports. But then now they're able to also get the recognition, not only Heidelin and Nesty, but even like the others, the ones even if like Marjeline Didal, like she's getting more recognition even if she didn't win. You don't necessarily need to win naman, but then dapat you also get the recognition and the appreciation of the Filipinos also, because yeah, parang all sports to a fault should be like equal, not only like the popular ones in the country.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, but you also mentioned nga that women are finding their niche here in the Philippine landscape, at least because that's where we are naman, and they're finding their way to bolster their, I don't know, their skills and talents, like showcase it also to the world. But for you, what's like maybe the future? What should the Filipino people look forward to in terms of the success of all these female athletes in in various sports?
Yeah. I think for the Philippines at least, the biggest problem, because we're not a very, I mean, we're still a developing nation. So we really need the funds and the money. And before, sports wasn't really that highlighted. But then now, like, nag-iiba, it's the sign of the times. And like SEA Games, grabe yung showcase yung athletes. And so we performed really well there. And this Olympics is our best showing. So I'm just excited na we can really be great in sports kung ma-highlight lang tayo and kung magbigay ng support. So maybe this will inspire like the government in the future to actually take a second look at the sports and invest in them. Kasi really what's difficult is to do it on your own. Like it's very hard for an athlete to succeed without support. Kasi in the sports world, kailangan talaga ng support, kailangan ng funds for competitions and exposure and good training and everything. So you can't do it on your own. That's why this is a great sign sana na magkakaroon ng more support for the athletes. So I'm just excited about that.
Yeah, hopefully, because yun si Hidilyn nga, like it's been flooding our social media wall that when she asked for support noong 2019 yata from her IG story, and then now when she won, parang biglang ang dami nang nagbigay ng support, like more than what they actually guaranteed. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's not like, it's kind not naman sad, but then it's just sayang kasi parang dapat 'di ba parang magbigay ka ng tulong pag nagte-training. But then syempre okay na rin yun that you gave like a reward for what she achieved. But syempre yung training was more important, and good thing when Hidilyn in like her interview with Gretchen Hall, she said that other private people also gave her the funds and gave her the ability to train. And even like during the pandemic, it was kind of hard for her to train for sure. But then at least, you know, she was able to pull through with the gold.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, I think that the government and everyone, the country should understand that it's hard for an athlete to do it without this support nga. It can't come after, like what you said, because the training and everything, the preparation, dun yung puhunan niya. And for her to win, she needs that support. And so if everyone's just not gonna give, if they're just gonna tell the athletes na I'll give you these incentives without the support, hindi rin kaya ng athletes yun. I mean, if they invest in them, tapos magkaka-gold yung athlete nila, and then super worth it lahat ng investment nila. So maybe it's an eye-opener na rin, and it's great that this happened. So maybe they can rethink about how they're handling the situation with sports and everything.
Yeah, it's a great milestone. Like yung having multiple, like having a gold yata and a bronze, like that's what Nesty, like minimum bronze siya. Parang it hasn't happened in 80 plus years yata or something. So 89 yata, 89 years. And I saw this morning. So it's been a milestone. So hopefully they realize na talagang it's really worth it to actually invest in them and give them the funds and allocate it well. Because for sure naman that it will, hindi naman siya masasayang or hindi siya mako-corrupt or whatever na pwedeng mangyaring masama. So I guess talagang eye-opener nga sana. But then for you, since yun nga, we mentioned Hidilyn getting the gold, how were you naman, how was your emotions? And how did you feel when she won it?
I was just really happy for the Philippines and such a great milestone. I mean, it's been hard 2020 because for the pandemic and everything, and everyone had to train on their own, find their creative ways on how to train, and she actually made it. And kahit noon nakulang siya sa suporta, despite that, nagawa pa niya manalo. So it just shows na kaya ng Filipinos, they can be that great, world-class, Olympic level. And so kung mag-support pa nga I can't stress enough the support na kailangan. And it's gonna be so great if magbago na yung support, and we might double this or we might be greater pa if ever there's more focus on the athletes. So I'm just really excited for the future too.
Yeah, a lot of my friends were like inspired, and they were also like really happy with what she achieved, because yeah, everyone knows naman her, like hindi man like her whole story, but at least part of her story and how she achieved the success she did. Like it's already her fourth Olympics ata, and syempre yung first two parang medyo hindi pa maganda yung showing niya, pero yung last two talagang nag-medal, silver na siya tapos gold. And yung sacrifice yata niya, like she was in Malaysia for a long portion of the pandemic, because here she couldn't train yata because it was really bad in terms of the COVID. pero she still achieved her
Yeah.
goals. She didn't make it like hinder her. So like other athletes, like maybe you
Mhm.
in the future, if you get to participate in the Olympics, you guys will also have the inspiration and the motivation to strive to also get a medal, because it's very happy and fun if you win it all.
And exactly, and that's true now. Looking at her and her story, and for Olympics, that's so long. That's like 15 years and more
Yeah.
for preparation. I mean, it's no joke to get in the Olympics, and to win it is even more. So grabe yung hirap, kita talaga na it doesn't take just one Olympics, not two, three, but four for her to get the gold, and it's really difficult, and pero kaya. So, grabe din yung sacrifice na ilinagay niya for her whole life. She dedicated it to the sport, and it paid off talaga. Kaya, kaya ng Pilipino.
Yes, yes. Hopefully talaga sa future more medals and continued success started with the SEA Games, and sana tuloy-tuloy na yung ascension ng sports sa Philippines, and yeah, not just the popular ones also. But
Yeah.
yeah, moving to your own training, and you mentioned that you were in Calamba for I don't know how many months,
Mhm.
but then a pretty long time training for the qualifiers in Paris. So how was the
Mhm.
training in Calamba, and was it tough? Because I remember, because did you guys go in and out of the bubble also, because it was ECQ for a couple of weeks, I think. So how was it? How was the whole environment in
Oh,
the bubble?
oh, for us naman, we trained in Calamba for 2 months, and we were there for the entire time. So we didn't go in and out. We
Oh,
stayed there for the entire 2 months, and then we left so we could go to Turkey naman. So right away yun. Tuloy-tuloy, like from January up to June, which is the qualifiers, halos naka-bubble kami the whole time. So that was tough because one, well, malayo sa family for a long time. Two, because we were onti lang. Like we were six athletes inside the bubble, and we went to Turkey, six athletes lang then, and like two coaches. And for our sport, karate and sparring event namin, it's important that we get the experience, we get to fight with a lot of people, and the training is hard. Like we did the conditioning really well, and we did the sparring really well. Pero like in hindsight, after the tournament, na-realize namin yung importance talaga ng competitions, because it's really reading your opponent right then and there. You only have 3 minutes to win or just lose everything right away. And so important talaga yung working your mind and then reading really quickly, adjusting to different situations, which we didn't have during the training bubble. And when we went to Turkey, ang dami ding limiting. So halos yung buong trip, konti lang yung mga nakaspar naming Turkish, because everyone was still being careful about the COVID situation. So halos kami-kami lang din yung nag-training, which was a big factor na tingin namin limitation for our team. So yun, it was tough in that sense. And of course, the training is really physically exhausting, and being away from home, and the COVID situation was so difficult, but like trying to not get it, of course. And so all of those things put together was really tough, and the pressure of the competition pa. So yun.
yeah. You mentioned that yung opponents nga are having like the real match or the real game in mismo, because you guys were just training on your own. Normally ba, pag hindi walang pandemic, you have the ability to have more sparring sessions with more people, or do you get to scout your opponents more? How does it work naman for karate in that aspect?
Well, yeah, for the SEA Games naman, I would compare it to that, because walang pandemic noon. And what we did was we were a lot, because first, bigger team for the SEA Games, like more events, so more people joined. So we all went to Turkey noon, and then training camps were easier to find because there was no pandemic yet. Competitions were also easy to find kasi there were significantly less tournaments nung nag-pandemic na.
Mhm.
And these tournaments pa na available, hindi kami pwede because it's only like for the top 100,
Oh,
and most of us weren't part of that. Yun. So, ang dami naming na-miss out because of the pandemic. But kapag walang pandemic, at least we get to train with more people in our team and more people na ibang team, like from Turkey, and we get to join competition. So, ibang-iba talaga yung preparation without the pandemic. And it was an important factor na nawala sa amin because of that. Yun.
Yeah, and you mentioned nga you guys were training alone. So yung coaches nyo ba, ano yung parang part of your repertoire na parang they were really improving on in preparation for Paris? Or was it more of the same pero parang more of repetitive na lang, yung parang inuulit-ulit nyo para gumaling kayo sa skills niyo?
Yeah, so yung repetition was really something that we did all the time because we didn't have the luxury of like exposing ourselves. So what we would do is we'd think of strategies na pwedeng mangyari. We anticipate it for happening. Like for this type of player, this is what you do. For this type of player, this is what you do. And parang we try to do it as much as we can para maging second nature na sa amin. And we won't need the experience and the competition so that lumabas siya sa tournament. And although nakaya naman to some extent, it doesn't really capture like what exposure is talaga because ang daming nawawala. Like there's so many factors, like we don't know how the referees read things. We may think it's pasok, but for them it's not. And then ibang-iba yung like 3 minutes na fight. And then ibang-iba rin yung mat, like where you're supposed to be in the mat or outside ka na ba. So ang daming factors na nawala sa amin. And we tried to do it in training, pero it just wasn't as perfect as it should be kung may training ng competition.
Yeah, then you mentioned nga that you were on Turkey, like, and you were in Turkey from what, March ata till June, and then you were here in Calambao. And what were like the main differences of what you did in Turkey and what you did here in terms of your preparation nga and your conditioning, I guess, with your coaches and teammates? Since you've also went to Turkey nung SEA Games, before SEA Games.
Yeah. So yung Calamba training, we had really nice facilities there. As in super ganda ng gym nila. We had so much to do. So I think for the first 2 months, we were really more focused on yung strength and conditioning and all the running and everything. Para lang super ready kami in terms of condition before going to Turkey. And then we went to Turkey hoping that we'd be sparring a lot with different people. We did get to spar with the Turkish team, but only for a while. So yun, nung lumipat kaming Turkey, nag-focus na kami sa sparring, more on sparring compared to strength and conditioning. So nag-spar kami with each other and sometimes with some Turkish athletes kasi Turkey is really good in karate, especially sparring. So yun, we got to play with some players, although limited, but mostly still with each other. So ayun, that's what we did. And that was for, I think, 5 whole months of training before that. And then the rest was like by ourselves during the pandemic.
Okay. So, nung pandemic nga, you mentioned na mahirap yun kasi syempre kayo lang yun and mahaba yun, like more than a year. Or no, hindi naman more than a year, pero almost a year na kayo lang. So, for you, ano yung parang challenges that you encountered, like maybe mentally or yan, physically kasi nakakapagod din. And syempre mas mahirap kasi normally may friends din na athletes, they usually say na they get motivated if they're with their teammates or with coaches that they know, like they motivate each other. But then for you, when you were alone, did you do anything in order to get over the hump and still continue to strive to improve even if yun, nakakatamad kasi pandemic?
Yeah, I get it completely. I mean, it's so easy to imagine. It's much easier to be inspired to go through training with your teammates and with your coaches because training is very hard and you really usually need the push of other people so you can get there, so you can survive it. So big challenge yun, like for almost a year of training in my house. Na parang kailangan just stay the course na every day you wake up na do I really have to do this because it's not in sight. Parang malayo pa sa site yung next tournament. So parang do I really have to do this now? But yun yung kagustuhan ko lang na I was just really focused on the qualifiers and what I wanted to do. So every day chinaga ko talaga and I kept in touch with some of my teammates online lang though. And it also helped na I have a small gym in my attic in the house. With some mats and like a punching bag. Kaya parang it wasn't so hard for me to find ways to train. Even though wala akong ka-sparring, like I had a great setup here at home. That's why I'm also very lucky because I saw some of my teammates na nahihirapan. Like they had to train outside or train in their small space at home. Pero yun, medyo sinwerte ako sa setup here. That's why it wasn't as hard siguro in my part.
Yeah, that's really a great blessing that you had the ability to actually have, yeah, the equipment, and also mentally and physically for you it was also amazing that you still continue to train, because not all athletes are like that. Because I heard also that yun nga, pwedeng nakahiga ka lang like the whole pandemic, tapos yung mga kalaban mo yun sila yung nagtitrain, so sila yung parang they're
Yeah.
gonna parang over ano sorry parang they're gonna be better than you if they're the ones working while you're sleeping, something like that. So it's really great na you
Mm,
continue to still improve and still continue to work on your game, even if it's tough, like with other stuff happening outside
correct.
of sports, for sure.
Mm-mm. And actually for me, like I stopped kasi for the entire college, like 2015 to
Mm.
2019, I was out of karate. And coming back, I just wanted to cram the last 5 months, like from graduation to SEA Games, to just
Yeah.
train and train every day to win the SEA Games. And then when I won the SEA Games, nagka-opportunity sa Olympic qualifiers. So I know sobrang short notice na, oh my God, I just stopped for 4 years and then I just
Yeah.
came back, kaya ba to?
Yeah.
And then biglang nagka-pandemic, so nagka-extra year. So I knew na I had a lot to catch up on. And
Okay.
sobrang suntok sa buwan na yung opportunity na to in the first place. So I knew na I couldn't like be tamad-tamad because I'm already behind.
Yeah, for
So
sure. That's
like I needed to work for that 1 year to just yun. So that was a hard year pero nairaos naman and it paid off. So it was good.
yeah, it's a great mindset to have really as an athlete that's serious about her craft and being able to want to succeed at the highest level. But yeah, going back to your karate stint, and you mentioned that you went to Paris for the qualifiers. And how did you get acclimated naman to like the environment in Paris, and how did you feel before the competition when you with your immense preparation that you mentioned in 2020 and yeah 2021?
Mhm. So Paris, good thing the weather was okay. I mean, we were in Turkey already for 2 months, and then 2.5 months, and then nung lumipat kami sa Paris, it was kind of similar, like the weather. So it was really fine. And then going into the tournament, knowing na, well, my first round, I'm ranked 273 because I stopped for 4 years and had zero competitions. So 273 yung ranking ko. And then I saw the draws, and my first opponent was a world champion, a two-time European
Yeah.
champion, and ranked number 19. So I'm like, what the heck? Sobrang malas ko naman.
Oh.
But it turned out, but so before that, I was just focused on, okay, everyone is pantay-pantay in this competition. So wala yung ranking na yan. And I'll just study her objectively, like how she is, and I'll try to make it work. And it worked. So after that first round, I won against her 3-2, and it was such a miracle for me already. I felt that was like finals level because it was so hard, and ginapang ko for the 3 minutes and nakaya, so it's not impossible. And then the next round was against Tunisia. This time she was ranked 50, and I'm still 273. And she was a Mediterranean champion, an African champion, an African Games champion. So medyo ano siya. And she was really big because in my category, they combined the -68 to the +68. And my weight is like barely there. I'm like 62. I'm at the lower level, so 62. Tapos yung next na kalaban ko was like from +68. So she's like a lot bigger than me. And then, and her special technique was like a takedown. And so I was na takedown ako super easily. And I was down 3 right away. And I tried. Pero I tried to get back and get back. And siguro yun yung kulang din sa amin. Like when we were training, I was already the biggest girl in our
Oh.
team. So I didn't fight anyone bigger. So lahat sila mas maliit sa akin. And then I didn't get the experience of trying to fight a really big girl na that could do that takedown technique. So yun yung kulang din siguro na I wish I'd seen before the tournament. So I could have adjusted before. So yun. But then it wasn't like kita ko naman na if I had a little more exposure, it's not impossible. That's why I don't feel so bad about the loss na I think I could have done this and could have done this. Pero it was really out of my control and mayroon talagang limitations. Kaya hindi ko na-clinch yung Olympic slot na yun. So there. I mean, I think I did pretty well. I mean, natalo, yung world champion, nasa level ako niya. So I believe na kakayanin naman with the right training and everything.
Yeah, when I read the article nga that you beat the really great, yeah, the world champion, there's one of the best in the world. I was like, that's amazing pa rin nga. Kasi syempre, you didn't play for how many years. So it was a great achievement in your part that you were able to do it. Pero yeah, going back to yung takedown na sinasabi mo, I think it's kind of tough also because if there was no pandemic nga, maybe you would have had more competitions or sparring sessions with bigger people. So you were like have more exposure with girls that are bigger. But since nga you said na yung mga kalaban mo are just people smaller than you, it's kind of tough because how do you like anticipate it except like on film, which is still
Yeah.
difficult because it's different pag film and in real life. So it was for you, parang what else could you have done din naman na parang that was not because of the pandemic. It couldn't really prepare in a different way maybe, or it was gonna be a harder time for you to find people that were bigger than you in the pandemic.
Super, super, exactly. As in, I know now, like watching film, she can do this, but it was a completely different situation and super foreign situation to me at that moment. Na parang, what? I was like, na-shock ako na, oh my gosh, this can happen pala. Pero it's really different. And also yung first nakalaban ko, the world champion. Like I studied her film a lot and you're there. So she was like a lot faster in person than it was on film. So I had to adjust on the spot to her speed and everything.
Yeah, you mentioned nga that it was a great learning experience for you because you knew that you can actually reach that level if you just keep working hard and yun nag-break ka pa nga ng 4 years. Pero you know in your mind that you can compete with them. So ano yung parang biggest or like several learning lessons na mapupulot mo from this whole experience, especially yan, it's in the midst of a pandemic for your future tournaments? Ano yung mapupulot mong lesson?
Yeah, I guess that I think the biggest takeaway for me is that exposure is really important. Like, kasi going into the qualifiers, buong-buo yung loob ko and yung puso and my mindset and everything. But I realized that that is not enough to carry you to the Olympics. There are a lot of factors, especially I think in the sport karate. Like, it's not like when you're done practicing yun na yun. Parang ang daming pwedeng mangyari within 3 minutes that are so crucial and like game-changing. And so important talaga yung like everything aligns. Like you have perfect training, a good coach, good exposure, experience in tournaments. And dapat align sana yung goals like ng athlete and ng government ng NSA so that you can reach that goal together because you really can't do it alone. And although having said that, hindi rin pwedeng kulang yung mindset mo and kulang yung loob. Like you need to believe in yourself for you to get there because that's the minimum requirement for you to at least believe na kaya. And to actually work for it. I mean, looking at like Hidilyn, I saw na it really didn't take like one snap of a finger for her to win that. It took so many years of her sacrifice for her to get that. And kaya sobrang inspiring din talaga ng athletes. Like they dedicate really their whole lives into this for their sport. So ayun, it's really tough. Like so many things on the line, and you need really a lot of luck and hard work and all together working for you.
Yeah, hopefully naman you still get the success that you will over the next few years, and you're still young pa naman and you can still continue to practice and hone your craft here in karate, and hopefully you will be able to also get the support and have the hard work, like a mix of everything talaga in order to succeed. Like yeah, you said there's SEA Games pa, and hopefully when karate becomes an Olympic sport again. Pero nga I heard in 2024 it's not gonna be in the Olympics yata. What are your thoughts naman on karate not being in the Olympics? And hopefully in the future it does. But yeah, what's your present thoughts on it?
Well, syempre as a karate athlete, it hurts that It's not like, I don't know why it's not part of the Olympics. Like it's their debut this year.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
in Tokyo, Japan, and that's where Karate started in Japan. And then just to find out na in 2024 wala na naman. So parang it's really sad because I see like many sports part of the Olympics na I think karate is just as known. But I'm not sure. I don't know why. But it's just really unlucky on our part siguro na it's not part of the Olympics. And kasama naman yun sa life. But it's just really sad na it's not part na yun na it wasn't that part just wasn't aligning for me and at least for my timeline. So I guess I'll just have to set my sights on different things and not Olympics.
Yeah, sana though it still becomes an official sport during your like prime years or your peak years because sayang lang kung maging sport siya pero you're not already playing or you're parang lampas ka na sa peak. Parang mahirap nga
Yeah.
parang masasayangan ka sobra na bakit not when I was playing na naging Olympics. Hopefully you get a chance at least like
Yeah.
one more to qualify, 1 to 2 more times to qualify for it because yeah, it would be fun and for us as like fans and supporters to actually witness it and hopefully I don't know it happens soon then. And we also have that success in SEA Games kasi so syempre parang mas maganda na yun parang tuloy-tuloy na sana. It's yeah for the next part of the interview it's great to also segue on also the part that I talk about also with my other guests, which is like the upbringing and childhood of the athletes and how they are able to succeed in their craft right now. So, to start things off, I'd want to ask how your childhood was. Was like karate talaga your first love or your only love, or did you try other activities as a kid before falling in love with karate?
Actually, when I was a kid, my dad kasi Sambolim is as an athlete, and so my mom also knew the importance of sports and like how much a kid could learn with sports, all the values and everything. So she would enroll me every summer pag walang school, different sports. So I tried like swimming, gymnastics, also basketball under my dad,
Oh,
and
okay.
many other sports. And yung karate, that was just for supposed to be one summer. Pero the coaches I had, they told me to go for it. Like, no, don't just do it for the summer. I mean, try competing and see if you like it. And so my mom was like, okay, let's try to continue at my school. And so I competed when I was 6 years old pala when I started karate. And so I competed and continued, and then I kept losing for 3 years. So I was like, why am I doing this, mom? And then her siblings and her family would ask her then, na parang, why are you gonna force her? Because she's not
Mm.
that good. And then she was like, I don't know, it's just her gut feeling to just let me continue and let me learn, like let me lose and then I'll learn something. And so that kept happening for 3 years of continuous losing. And then I won my first gold at 9 years old. And then I think something just clicked inside me na, oh, kaya ko pala if I just work hard. And so I did. And then nagtuloy-tuloy na yung gold medal since then. Since I was 9 years old. Parang it was like a sudden shift in my karate life. And I think that's when I only started loving the sport, when I was more aware of what I was doing and like, oh, I could do it pala. And so at first I didn't like it because who would want to train on the weekends? Like that's supposed to be your rest from school. And so yun, and as a kid, as a 6-year-old kid, I just want to watch TV. But my parents didn't let me. So yun, and thankfully they didn't because I wouldn't be where I am now without that forcing of my parents. So I'm just super lucky looking back because I could have easily stopped, but they didn't let me.
What was the differentiating factor for you and why you chose karate over the other sports and even if you weren't succeeding at it from the onset you still chose it compared to the others?
Actually, my mom told me that her feedback from when I was in preschool was that I was kulang sa pagiging defensive because like if a kid would take my toy, I just let them take my toy and then I wouldn't do anything. So my mom was like, okay, she needs to learn karate. So parang after that, it was so random na nag-karate ako. And then just because my teachers, my senseis told me to continue, my mom listened naman and didn't continue as well. Because when I was doing like swimming and other sports, they just let me do it for the summer. But this one, they really wanted to make me compete and actually continue it. So Because of my teachers then, kaya ako napakontinue ng karate.
Yeah, buti pala you had like a great support system, like your mom and also like other people were motivating you to continue it, because sometimes like yeah, when you want to give up or you want to stop now because yeah, you'd rather rest or do other stuff for leisure.
Yeah.
But then you still chose to still continue the sport that you love doing. And I can also relate because I really love sports now. Like sometimes to a fault, like I focus on sports like I don't know, most of the day, like 3 parts of my day is just sports related. Yeah, it's either like I'm watching or playing or anything. So sometimes yeah, it's gonna get it's nakakasawa din. And for others, maybe they're like, don't you have like other things to do in life also? But it's really the maybe yeah, the sacrifice and the ability for you din na ngayon tingnan mo parang so far worth it talaga siya, and you're able to still succeed in sports. Pero yung yun nga, you said you
Yeah.
were doing well, like you got a gold of 9, but what made you nga stop maybe yeah before college yata, or like during college you didn't
Mhm.
play at all? So paano yung
Mhm.
decision process mo nun kung bakit di mo muna tinuloy yung karate?
Oh yeah. Well, so I was doing karate like from 6 years old, and I was doing it at the same time as school. And it was showing that I was like a better athlete compared to being a student.
Mm.
And basta parang when I graduated in grade school, I got best in sports, and then wala sa honors or anything. But then in high school, parang nakikita na nagpe-peak din naman ako in school. So that time I graduated best in sports, and this time with honors. And when entering college, I got to my dream school, which is UP. And kasi idol ko si mom, just like
Mm.
how idol ko si dad. I wanted to be like her, and she was a summa cum laude when she graduated in
Yeah,
UP
yeah.
also. So I said, okay, I wanted to be summa cum laude too. And so but I also love karate so much. So
Yeah.
I tried to do it at the same time. But what was really hard was karate is not a UAAP sport.
Yeah, it's
So I couldn't, it was hard the training. So if ever I trained, it had to be in my private club in AAK and Mega Mall. So I'd go from UP to Mega Mall to back to my house. And parang that was just really exhausting, and I knew na parang na-project ko na I couldn't be suma kung gagawin ko to all the time. Tapos wala pang UAAP. So I made the hard decision to put a pause on karate muna, or even stop like completely, just to get this sumo, because that's really what I wanted for college. And so na-sacrifice yung karate for the sumo, which was for me, I wouldn't change it naman, because I really wanted that sumo, and super grateful ako na nakuha siya. And eventually also valedictorian ng College of Science. So I'm really grateful for that. And even though I had to say goodbye muna to karate, which was something I also loved.
yeah. It's before moving on to the karate portion, like for the SEA Games preparation, it's also good to talk about ngayon yung pagiging summa cum laude, because some athletes nga pag masyado na silang successful or like yun then they're all like peaking at their own sport. Sometimes nakakalimutan na nila yung value ng education na talagang super important pa din sa future ng mga athletes, kasi pag tapos ka na sa sport mo, yeah, you'll need your degree for something. Like you need to have a business or you need to have a job when you retire or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important also
Yes.
for athletes to realize the value of education. So in that topic naman, I wanted to ask lang, how did you become very studious and dedicated to academics? Because you mentioned also in grade school and you weren't like an honor student,
Mm-mm.
and then in high school biglang naging honor student ka na, and then yun in college yun na yung peak na naging valedictorian ka na in
Yeah.
summa cum laude. So how do you have that mindset naman of being studious and still studying every time? Because sometimes for me personally, like I'm not like that. I mean, I'm not like summa cum laude or anything.
Actually, I think I'm a late bloomer. Like even in karate, like the first 3 years of losing, nanalo naman later on, but it took a while. And then
Mm.
yung with honors ko naman, it took the whole grade school for me to not get honors, and then just with honors, but not top of my class. And then biglang summa cum laude and valedictorian. So slowly but surely ako, that's one. And number two, I think like early on, like being an athlete at a young age, I realized like the value of hard work and sacrifice and discipline. And actually, it's the same in in sports and in whatever you do in life. So like ginawa ko lang, I just extracted those values from sports and then put it into school. And that's how I did my study. So every day I'm gonna work hard and study hard. I won't let a day off. Just like how I was in pandemic training. Like I'm not gonna relax now kasi malayo pa yung tournament. So I wasn't like that in college. I wasn't saying that I'm still first year, fourth year pa naman yung goal ko na summa cum laude. No, it was like for every day of the 4 years in college, I knew I needed to put in the work. So it was really being consistent and staying the course and just be focused on what you want on your goal. So ayun. I think it's just really extracting the values and then using it into another aspect in life.
Okay. So how about choosing the course of DS mathematics? Like it seems like a course that people would want to avoid, honestly, because not a lot of people love math, like especially from like my friends and people I know. Saan naman nakuha yung interest in mathematics, and yeah, you really succeeded in your dream of graduating in that course.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, in high school, I could see na like I was excelling in math compared to other subjects because I don't know, math is just a language. Na sometimes it's easier for you to get it right away, or sometimes it's really hard for you to get it. You know, and I'm just blessed na math is really my language and nagja-jive kami ng math. So I knew na coming into college, I needed something math related. So I actually applied to applied physics first course,
Oh.
and then second is math. So I entered freshman year applied physics, and then that sem I got a taste of physics classes and math classes. Tapos later on I realized ko I think I am more a math person. Like it became clear to me after taking some classes na parang fit talaga ako sa mathematics. Like I just understand its language and it comes naturally to me, luckily. And I think I get it from my mom because she's philosophy. So
Oh.
she graduated philosophy, and I think I really see the connection between philosophy and math. It's very logic based, like yung proving ng math is the same as like how philosophers think. So baka nagmana ako kay mommy in that sense, and that I really get the mathematics. So it worked out for me well now because even though it's a hard course, just because that I get it is already an edge for me.
Yeah, for sure it's really tough. Like not everyone, like there's barely people like you here in the Philippines. Like I think in all your interviews that I've listened to, everyone's shocked na sige, valedictorian ka or summa cum laude, pero it's like more of like the course that you chose because yeah, it's not like the course that people normally choose, and you were still successful in it because it's kind of tough because yeah, mathematics parang kami nga parang basic mathematics lang in college, hirap na hirap na. So, parang you took it as your major, pero grabe yung challenge nga and you overcame it. So I think that's also a great inspiration for people. Like if you're really into something or you're passionate in something, just go for it. You'll never know, you might succeed in it. But
Yeah.
then
Oh, thank you. And I think it's like really finding what you like, your interest, and kung ano talaga gusto mo. Because it's hard doing something that you're not into. Like me, if I'm in another course, maybe I wouldn't be summa cum laude just because I wouldn't jive with it as much. So it's really important to like really try to find out what you really like in life, or even a course like what you like.
yeah. How about what are your like study routines or habits that you do? Because you said nga consistency is very important, and like yeah, finding what you want to do even on your like down days, you still have like a mindset or have the mentality to continue to finish what you need to do, like requirements or group works, anything. So you mentioned nga that the karate took a
Yeah.
back seat first, but then in college it's kind of tough also. Like when it was face to face, it's easy to have more leisure time with your friends because there's many things to do. We have less classes compared to high school.
Yeah.
And then here in the pandemic now, it's also hard because you could just play like video games, watch Netflix because it's right there beside you rather than listening to the Zoom classrooms. So for you, what could you share na parang tips or advice to students like yeah, college or high school students in order to how to emulate you in terms of that aspect of life?
Yeah. Honestly, it's just for me, it's if you really have a goal, like set a goal and then really work to get it. And then every day you really have to think about that goal. Like it can't take a backseat. Like you can't say maybe I won't go for this goal today because you don't feel like it.
Mm.
I think those days are normal and it's very, very tempting to just lie down and rest, which is important din naman. But manage it. Like if you're gonna rest now, just do it for a small time and then get back to work. Like don't throw it completely out because I know that there are off days, but then you can always like pull yourself back if you really want to get that goal. So it's just really how much you want it, and it will follow like how you work for it. So for me, like in school, after a class, kasi hindi nga ako fast learner, like during a class and the lecture, I think my classmates would get it faster than I did because I'm like, oh my god, what did he say? And so what I do is when I get home, I'll try to learn it then pa lang. So that magets ko yung lahat ng nangyari for that day. So I'm just going to the next class prepared. Like I remember what happened last class. So yun lang, just really stay there. Kasi if not, for example, if I fall back one class, and then in the next class I'm not prepared, edi sobrang layo na ng aakyatin ko. So maybe that's also how I think about it. Like ayoko mabaon sa
Yeah.
aaralin. So I just take it like small bits and pieces every day so that I don't fall back too much. So that's the way you can think of it also.
Yeah, that's a great mentality to have because you could have like a long-term goal that you always have on your mind also, like which is the Summa Cum Laude, but then you could also have short-term goals that will help you reach the long-term goal. So maybe that's a great takeaway that the audience or the listeners can get from what you shared from your success in college and your Summa Cum Laude, because people now, like lalo na in the pandemic, I know so many of my friends that would rather do other things. Kasi lalo na now nakakatamad, like 90 minutes kasi yung classes at Lasal and you're just staring at the screen. So lalo na kung mara yung prof, like hindi naman interactive yung class, like you're gonna listen lang talaga and take notes. Parang it's so nakakatamad kasi syempre like here katabi mo pa yung bed mo or like yung TV mo nandiyan lang. So it's kind of tough din talaga to focus. Even for me, like 90 minutes. Baka mamaya like 45 minutes kaya mo, pero pag mga after the halfway point, medyo But the good thing also that you didn't experience like.
But that's a different challenge because buti na lang. I was gonna say like buti na lang I didn't go. Buti na lang I didn't experience this online classes because I can't imagine like 90 minutes of being like aware. Parang,
what I was gonna say.
It's so long. I mean, it should be like parang they should have breaks because I can't concentrate for that long. Tapos my next class pa, like that's so much. So parang it's also difficult. Maybe the system could use some help then in changing like the 90-minute thing. Kasi ako, natatagalan din ako and it's really hard to like focus for that long because it's really long talaga. So you guys find a way. You got this.
Mahirap talaga like yun nga parang since madami ring problems outside of school or yung mga responsibilities nila, like I don't know in their house or yung pag COVID, unfortunately, it's kind of hard for them to still stay focused na nga in school. Tapos meron pang problems outside. So medyo mahirap talaga yung way to getting high grades and still maintaining what they want in college.
True. That's really.
And you also mentioned
how like not being with your classmates for support and like the Wi-Fi problem. So marami talaga.
Mahirap talaga. Like dati nga yung normally pag class parang kakalabitin mo lang yung katabi mo, like ano ba yung dinidiscuss doon? Pa-explain nga. Ngayon walang ganun.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned one thing that I like, which is I think it's from your dad also, that he was an athlete and you were there growing up. So he was there to guide you. Is the importance of sports in the growth of a person? Like what were the many things that it could teach you when in your whole because you were very mature at a young age then. Like you mentioned in college, you already knew how to make a decision for karate to make a backseat. And not all individuals have the mindset of choosing like the mature decision because they just choose what interests them, not really like the long-term goal. For you had that already. So how would you like advise people that that are want to try out a sport or they're still like thinking about it, pero at a young age, do you think they should make their children try sports, or them mismo, like at a young age, they could still try any sport that they want, and how important it could be?
Honestly, I want like children to really go into sports. Like I know na when my parents made the decision for me when I was young to go into sports, it was right because I was young and like dun pa lang ma-hone yung learnings ko and my values, dun siya mamomold. And I think sports is like the perfect avenue to learn things on your own, like without me just telling you that hard work is important, sacrifice is important. You actually learn it on your own by yourself through sports. That's why it's so beautiful because like competition, it's so many feelings then, so many emotions. Like ano yung feeling pag natatalo, how do you handle it? Ano yung feeling ng nananalo, how do you handle that? Yung pressure, yung kabado, pagiging kabado. Like it's so you mature really earlier at that age and when you're exposed to sports young. And so for me naman, and then gusto ko na yung parents ko yung nagde-decide for me noon because I wasn't in the right mind to decide yet. Like when I was 6 years old and I said I didn't want to do karate, I'm glad that they didn't listen to me because what did I know? I'm only 6 years old. So maybe go, maybe parents go for sports because ibang klase talaga yung matututunan mo for that. And so maybe that's how I also got the decision making and the maturity on how to do things. And I think malaking bagay for me then is the support system. Like my parents, my family, they really helped me make decisions. So I welcome them. Like I ask them for their opinions. Decision that's really big.
Yeah, I agree with you there because sometimes in sports, like yeah, I played basketball ever since I was a child, like yeah, 6 yata or 7 till the end of high school. And sometimes yung mga natututunan mo, you can't explain it only through words. Like you need to be the one to experience like the losses or like the injuries or yung mga
Yes, yes.
difficulties and hardships na talagang will shape you up yun, to more mature. And you can also apply it nga, a lot of the learnings in sports to your other life endeavors that you never know when the situation's gonna arise. But then since yun nga nag-sports ka, parang when the situation is there na biglaan, you know how to respond and react and act mature and being able to also share it with the younger people or the people that go to you for help.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So I
Yeah.
hope that really kids go into it.
Yeah. And you mentioned nga kanina also yung SEA Games that you were very successful in it and you did not play for 4 years. So yun, ang curious talaga ako ever since before when I saw you won the gold was how did you prepare for the SEA Games for how many months? Like July to November, December lang ba yun? And
Yeah.
syempre, hindi ka naglaro ng
Yeah.
4 years. So how did you like stay in condition or yung mga yun nga, yung mga moves, yung mga techniques? Paano mo nagawa yun or na-cram na ganun ka iksing time?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. First, as in the first few months of my training was so bad, as in even in the conditioning part. Like it was so bad. Like my whole team, kunwari magsisprint kami together. It would be like this, the team, and then that's me trailing behind. As in sobrang layo ko. As in it was so halata na I was out of shape and out of condition. Then I would lift the lightest weight kasi hindi talaga ako marunong mag-weights noon. And basta it showed, it was so obvious that I was so out of shape and everything, and I wasn't ready. And then I actually joined a tournament, a small tournament in Singapore when I got back in July. And I lost to someone who wasn't good. And I was like, tinitingnan ko na yung mga kalaban ko for SEA Games. Tapos sobrang galing nila. Like, world champion din yung kalaban ko sa finals in her junior years. And nag-silver siya sa Asia. So I'm like, these are big people, all of them. And ako, natalo sa Singapore na hindi naman magaling and hindi kilala yung girl. And I was so out of shape. I think it was just like the consistency and believing in the coach. Like we have a good coach, Coach Okay Arpa from Turkey. And coming from Turkey and Turkey being a very good country in karate, parang ang dami niyang nasi-share na information with us, like strategy and everything. So I just tried to internalize that and really learn it and put it into my heart and to my system, really understand what he was trying to say and apply it. And then that with doing the everyday training, doing extra because I know I needed to, like magsistay ako after training and I'm gonna go a lot earlier just so I can catch up on what I lacked. And buti na lang, like for the first 12 years of my life, of my karate life, medyo nare-retain pa naman like the instincts throwing the right technique. So kahit na yung conditioning is not there, at least the karate mindset, karate IQ is still kind of there. And I'm still concentrated on trying to learn new things, new information. And then just nag-align talaga everything for me on the SEA Games na nanalo. And I think the exposure, and I had a few tournaments before the SEA Games. Like in Turkey, I had 2 tournaments, Singapore, 1 tournament. So those things, I learned a lot and I really focused on putting it into the SEA Games and it paid off.
Yeah, wasn't there a point where you were physically drained na rin? Because you said that you worked extra hard compared to the others because you were lacking behind. And you mentioned nga na yun, you joined other tournaments also, and parang ang dami, like you've been talking lang about it for a few minutes, pero I feel like ang dami mong ginawa in a short span of time. Pero paano mo na overcome yun? Like there was siguro naman meron time na talagang napagod na rin yung body mo, pero talagang yung mindset mo ba na to keep pushing was to get that gold? You really just wanted the gold?
Oh yeah, definitely, exactly. It's so tiring, especially like the shift pa na 4 years of not moving too much, like just a little jogging and a little conditioning. And then boom, national team na super twice a day, tapos heavy weights talaga. And then like fighting each other, receiving punches and kicks. Parang it's so overwhelming, the shift pa. And then I went back to national team training the day after I graduated. So parang ganun talaga yung shift niya, wala man lang downtime because I had no time to relax. 5 months nga lang. And I think it was just like the sheer determination I wanted to win the SEA Games gold. And it was, yun lang yung nagdadala sa akin. But I really, really was exhausted. And it showed because like right after the SEA Games, like 2 days after the SEA Games, nagkasakit ako for 1 month na parang iba-iba. So I had sore throat, I had lagnat, sipon, ubo, for a month na tuloy-tuloy. So parang nag-catch up talaga yung lahat ng pagod and sakit ng katawan ko after the SEA Games. And I'm just glad na it held off until then, na hindi siya bumigay before SEA Games. So I really was exhausted and it was just how much I wanted it that pushed me there.
Yeah, you also mentioned that you really wanted it with sheer determination. And your dad also, I believe, won medals when he was a basketball player before in the 80s yata or 80s, I think. And you mentioned also that yun nga, support system super important to you, especially no at a young age. So yun, din ba nanggagaling or dun mo rin napupulot yung nga, yung determination or yung zeal or desire mo to want that gold medal? Syempre, para, you also get the gold like how your dad got it when he was playing basketball.
Oh yeah, just like how idol ko si mom, like I wanted to Summa Cum Laude. I also wanted to be like my dad, who wanted to be the best athlete ever. So I think he is my role model, and I saw how he worked and how much nagpakamatay siya for the ball. As in, he would like really jump and bala na kung ma-injure siya, pero basta mapanalo niya yung team niya. I think that is what I got from him. Namana ko sa kanya or nakita ko sa kanya and I got it consciously. Basta I'm just grateful that I had him as a role model and I got this attitude, this fighting spirit because of him.
Yeah, that's a great inspiration for you. It's like one of the best PBA players, and sayang lang talaga that he also got injured during the span of his career. Kasi tingin ko kung hindi siya na-injured, he would have been better pa rin talaga. And kilala na siya as one of the best and na-injure pa siya. So what more, diba, kung hindi na-hinder yung success niya with the injuries. And syempre, as you're the daughter of him, parang, yung legacy niya pa rin, mga mapupulot mo rin from him as his dad. Parang it's a really great inspiration also for the young athletes and even anyone that, wants to emulate their idols, like your idols or like your parents. So it's great to hear also from you. Yeah. Going into the SEA Games mismo, yeah, we hosted it. So that's a great thing for all the athletes here, that the home crowd was behind them the whole tournament. But for you, how did you feel? Were you like confident in the day of the competition or a few days before the competition? And kasi alam mo rin yung home crowd was there to support you?
Oh, actually, so exactly 2 weeks before our SEA Games fight, we had like this test event na parang mini competition between the players. And I lost. I got the silver to my teammate. And my mom was like panicking internally and she wasn't telling me na she was panicking. But she was like, oh my gosh, 2 weeks na lang SEA Games na. And natalo pa. Oh my God, wala nang redo yung SEA Games. And I could just feel na she was nervous. But I was like, no, I know what I did wrong and I got this. Parang she was thinking I was a little too confident na coming in. But honestly, I was just really internalizing what went wrong and that it was so adjustable na kaya ko namang i-adjust yun. And so going into the SEA Games, you really have to come in confident. Like ready or not ready, like finish or not finish, pass your papers. Parang kailangan you're confident with what you've done or not.
Mm.
Pero I believe naman that I did everything I could for the SEA Games naman. So I came in there like prepared and confident na mananalo ko. And I really came there to win the gold, not just a silver or not a bronze, but really the gold. So hindi pa tapos yung laban just because I got into the finals. I knew na I had to finish the job with the gold. And so coming in there, I was ready and nagawa ko nga. Like despite it being like a miracle kasi yung world champion nga yung kalaban ko and I stopped for 4 years. So that mindset to me was really important and it helped me win the gold.
Yeah, yun nga, since world champion siya, for you naman, ano yung talagang parang factor kung bakit nga nanalo ka? Was it more of like yun nga yung desire mo, or did you do something like a tactic or a technique or a strategy that you did in order to offend the opponent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been reviewing her for so long, like for the past 2 months before SEA Games. I was really reviewing her because I knew that she was the toughest competitor to beat because her being the world champion and she just got the silver sa Asian Champs. I knew that it was her na siguro yung mga finals ko and it happened. And so during the competitions, she adjusted her game. So like all of the reviews that I did, nawala siya kasi iba yung ginawa niya. So nag-adjust din siya. And we were just really patient with each other. And I think her strategy was to be patient, like to wait for me to attack, and then she had the prepared counter. But I was also patient, so we were very patient people, and it's hard because it's so easy in karate to be impatient and just throw kahit mali yung timing, and even if it's wrong. But we weren't. So parang it was tied 1-1, and there was only like 20 seconds left and I did a body punch. And I think she was expecting a head punch because that's what I've been doing for the entire competition. And actually, this is the help of my teammate. His name is Alwin Batikan. And he's my training partner too. And so when I do extra, he'd help me out. And he actually shouted like, Chudan, which means like the body punch. And it instantly hit me na parang, yeah, that's right. And so I did I did the body punch. And nag-score ako. So that put me in the lead 2-1 for 20 seconds. So all I had to do was what I learned from my loss to Rome because I was also in the lead and then I didn't take care of it properly. But I learned 2 weeks before na I should protect it by like being defensive and not trying. So nanalo ko 2-1 and it was just so happy for me since then.
Yeah. So yun nga, you said nga that you won and you were, yun nga, nag-pay off yung patience mo and yung whole training mo for how many months yun, like half a year na talagang buwis buhay na talaga and you gave your all. So how was the feeling naman yun? I saw yung pictures na yung talagang sobrang saya mo na nag-gold ka finally for the Philippines. How was the whole feeling when it, na-absorb mo na ba yung parang magiging masaya? How many days did it take? How was it?
Oh, you don't know how long. As in, parang that moment, I was so shocked because I thought na parang sobrang naman akong swerte kung 2019 mag-gold ako ng SEA Games and Summa Cum Laude. Like honestly, I thought na parang the odds of that happening are parang not very high. So I thought na, oh my God, I can't believe it happened. Na parang sobrang 5 months lang ako nag-prepare tapos yung kalaban ko sobrang galing tapos nanalo ako. But I was so overwhelmed na parang it was possible because even my teammates, parang only one girl won the gold before me and I was on the last day na. And all of my teammates are so good and they've been in the team for so long. Ang dami na nilang experience na SEA Games at wala pa rin gold for the longest time. So I'm like, parang mahirap nga talaga ang mag-gold sa karate sa SEA Games. Pero it happened. And it was so obvious, like looking at the both of us, me and my opponent, it looks like she's more conditioned, like she's faster, she's more experienced. Pero nanalo ako with this strategy lang. So parang sobrang overwhelmed ako, and I was just so grateful for that year, for the support of my family. So I offered it to my mom and my dad, for the country. And that's why nung awarding na and nag-play yung Lupang Hinirang, I was so emotional na hindi ko na-stop yung tears ko, because when I start crying, parang tuloy-tuloy na siya. And that was just so much to me.
Yeah, that's a great feeling. And grabe nga, na number 1 tayo sa medal tally din sa SEA Games. Ang daming nanalo. Like sila Agatha, when I talked to her, talagang ang saya-saya din niya nung time na yon.
Yeah. And honestly, it was so, parang SEA Games in the Philippines is so crazy. I mean, that was so emotional for me. Even just the opening ceremony, like walking out and seeing the support of the Filipinos. Parang yung feeling ko nanalo na ako kahit di pa ako nag-compete, because I felt so overwhelmed, and it felt so great. Like it's something that won't happen for another 14 years. So I'm just really happy that I got to experience that.
Yeah, definitely. And to one of the questions also that I'd want to ask you in regards to yun nga, I said that summa cum laude ka and SEA Games gold medalist, and some people when they search you up, they'll be like such an like achievement talaga and inspiration. So why can't I achieve what I want to in life? So for you, ano yung mabibigay mo like advice or payo sa mga tao na not necessarily athletes only, pero syempre focused pa rin sa athletes on how yung nga, student athlete talaga mismo. It's like you really applied it in your life. It's not just like a mantra or a saying, but
Yeah.
you really did it in your whole career and at such a young age. So how could you advise it and tell people that are having or are struggling, maybe they wanna not care about academics anymore and focus on their sport or vice versa? Because it could go either way. So ano yung masasabi?
Yeah. Honestly, for me, just believe na kaya. And like I said before, like if you have a goal, just really take the steps, like plan out the steps of what you need to do to reach that goal and actually do them. Because there really are no shortcuts. Like it's really gonna be difficult. Na parang no athlete or no summa cum laude got it for just luck. So they really work hard for it, and I'm sure they didn't have an easy time. So it really doesn't go that way. So no shortcuts. And to me naman, super important ang education, because like what I see naman in the athlete life, may expiration date siya. Because there are peak years, and that has an end talaga. And after that, you have to really find something to do to sustain your life. So important talagang education. So that's something for the future naman. Like you have to think about your whole life and not just the here and now. So although like the sport is super amazing and ibang-ibang feeling and grabe yung passion, you still have to prioritize your studies as well. Just to make sure na you can go for like after you retire in sports, you have something to do pa and something to lean on with that.
Yeah, sana yung mga makakinig nito are they're able to also apply it. Lalo na ngayon, it's in the pandemic, it's kind of difficult also to follow like certain advices that they hear from people like you. But then, syempre, hardships, yung success, pag nakuha mo na yung success, ma-realize mo na you overcame the hardships. That's what made you successful.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, I know na for some people it's easier, for some people it's harder, but it's really necessary that you really go through these things, and you have to. Parang ganun din yung life. Like some are unfair. Well, the being unfair makes it kind of fair because everything is unfair. But yun. So maybe iba-iba yung both na we're going through. But we have to really work hard and try our best at least.
Yeah. So for the final part of the interview, these are certain questions that I ask my guests also, like all the athletes that guest. So one of it is, I'm not sure if you watch NBA or if you know, like in the bubble in 2020, the players were very vocal and they were telling the United States how to like vote, educating them how to vote, and being active with the George Floyd issues and all the other national issues that they have. But here in the Philippines, I think the athletes are not as vocal or as they're not amplifying their voices more, similar to the United States. And you never know that if athletes are more vocal, then they could make a change here in the Philippines. Because yeah, like you guys have a lot of followers and people idolize you in your respective fields. But for you, what's your opinion on athletes and yeah, social and national issues, like they're being related, or for athletes being active in it also in order to influence the people? Like for instance, in the elections is close, it's ready next year. So if athletes are more active, like with the candidates and educating people, it might uh, affect the result in a positive way. So what's your
Yeah.
take on that?
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, it would be such very ideal for athletes to like have a voice about this, because I hear naman some people who say na parang you're just an athlete, just stick to doing your sport. But I don't believe that, because we're also Filipinos, and we have a responsibility greater than just sports. It's like being a good citizen. And that includes like doing your part and sharing what you can, sharing the knowledge. And like elections is near, and I know that athletes also sometimes have gag orders, like they're not allowed to say
Yeah.
things because it might affect their sport, or mawawalan sila ng suporta, which is the sad truth na, pero naiintindihan ko, because kung yun nga naman yung livelihood nila, they can't afford to not get the life. So I guess it's just the system that's really really difficult to win over. But some people who are lucky, who aren't dependent on that solely, can do their part and just say what they think. And I think it's very important for people to like really know the candidates and study them well, and vote not just for your interest. Like, I think he will help me in this way, so I'm gonna vote for him. But like, really try to think about the entire Philippines, and because you're not voting for yourself, it's really for the whole country. So malapit ng election, so I'd ask all the viewers to really just sit down for a moment and really know your candidates and make a wise decision sa voting.
Yeah, that's great to hear nga. And tama rin yung sinabi mo that maybe nga athletes hesitate to talk about it because it might affect like the other, yan nga, yung sports nila, like maybe their
Mm-hmm.
sponsors or something. And yun nga yung sacrifice ng ibang Americans. Like, I think nung finals, since they were so vocal about the Black Lives Matter, syempre yung ratings nila nag-suffer, or yung ibang endorsements
Mm-mm.
nila, medyo hindi na sila gusto kunin. So yeah, it takes sacrifice. So syempre kung hindi kaya yun, medyo mahihirapan talaga yung athletes. And also, I think yung culture din natin, I think laid back ang Filipinos compared to the Americans when it
Yeah.
comes to those issues. So maybe those are two factors that are taken into account also when it comes to these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yung next question naman, it's also a fun question lang. It's just, if you had an opportunity to have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, like any 5 people in the world, who would you choose?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard kasi ang dami. Wait lang. 5?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wait. Because right now, I'm so into BTS, but there's 7 already. So can that count as 1? Because I love them so much.
Pwede.
Okay,
Not
that's
into
1.
BTS though, but like...
Why? Can you listen later to Dynamite?
My friends are into it so much though. So yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
Dynamite na, but like, I don't know. BTS
Di
meal
pa
lang
rin.
alam ko sa McDo.
yan
Yeah.
lang.
Yeah.
I ordered the BTS meal but get the barbecue sauce because I still like the barbecue sauce more.
Oh,
Maybe you
yeah.
should listen to it. It's a sign. It's your sign to listen to it.
Yeah. Barbecue sauce talaga is still the OG. So yeah, I like the sauce, the new one, but then yeah, the barbecue is better. And with BTS, yeah, some of my other guests also, like the volleyball players, when it's this question, they also brought up like the BTS people, and like I don't really know them, so I'm just like...
5 out of 7, no?
Yeah.
Maybe listen to it later. Pati butter. Ang ganda ng butter. Anyway, so sino pa ba? I love Michael Jackson. I'm such a fan of Michael Jackson.
Okay.
I also love Steph Curry.
Ah,
So I'm gonna say Steph Curry. Sino pa ba? Then both my parents. Oh, kahit kasama ko siya.
yeah. Dami na.
Yeah. Kasi naubos na yung 5 ko.
Yeah. Sige. So for the final question, it's also a question I ask to everyone is, who do you think I should invite here on the DVD show? Like from any sport, because I tackle any sport naman. And yeah, I've had a lot of episodes already, but who do you think I should invite here that could say like a great story, or yung madali makipagkwentuhan din about their sport or their craft? Who would you suggest?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, if you can get Hidilyn now. Because she has such a great story to tell. And yeah, I'm sure she'd love to do this because I see her supporting many podcasts as well now. From small to big podcasts. So if you just try, maybe not now because she's
Yeah, not
like
now.
enjoying now. Maybe in the future you can get her. But like really she has a great story to tell. So get
Yeah,
her.
my friend knows her, so like hopefully she's able uh to contact Heidelin.
Yeah.
But then before kasi for Lasallian, we did an article about the people in the 19 athletes in the Olympics. We only got two, si Chris Nievares and Kurt Barbosa. But we
Uh-huh.
tried Heidelin, pero busy nga daw nung time na yun.
Yeah.
So like maybe after. Sabi ko
Now.
nga sa friend ko,
Mm-mm.
sige after mainstream media like interviews her, pwede mo siya tanungin. Yeah, kasi syempre, di ba?
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna interview her now.
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
that's it naman. Thank you so much again, Jamie, for joining me
Yeah.
here on the DVD show. And I hope you enjoyed our conversation. And do you have any final message?
Oh, I just want to say thank you for having me talaga. I mean, I think I shared my whole life and the future pa
Yeah.
and everything. So I'm just really grateful. I had fun talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So thank you again so much. And yeah, stay safe. And I'll tag you when I put the episode out. But before you go, is it okay if we take a picture?
Sure.
Okay, I'll take it. One, two, three. Okay, thank you so much again. And
Nice. Thank
bye.
you. Thanks. Bye.